Hey, what's up, guys? It's your girl, Poppy Brit. Welcome back to another podcast. If it's your first time here, then welcome. And if you've been here before, then welcome back. Thank you so much for making time and space for me. Before we get started, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you listen to me on Apple Podcasts but aren't subscribed on Spotify or on YouTube, go do that, or vice versa. Go show love on every streaming platform that you have where you can listen to me: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you can listen to a podcast. Go give me a like, go give me 5 stars, go give me a thumbs up, go subscribe, even if you're not listening on there, because it really does make a difference and it really does help. Well, as here on YouTube, I know a lot of people watch me on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed, make sure you have the notifications on, make sure to give me a like, and leave a nice, sweet, loving, thoughtful, beautiful, sweet, thoughtful, nice, kind comment. I have no excuses, but I'm finally back, and I am finally talking about a topic that people have been wanting me to talk about for a very long time, and it's the fact that this time last year I got fired from my job, and I am just going to talk about unemployment in general. I know a lot of people are experiencing or just recently experienced going through either getting fired or being unemployed, and as someone that experienced this a year ago for the first time, I heavily empathize with you and can finally say that I finally made it through the trenches and feel like I'm finally at a place where I can speak about what I went through and speak about what I learned, how tough it really is and how disheartening it can be, and just how hard being unemployed really is. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it because there is a lot of shame around it. So yeah, funny enough, right before I started recording this podcast, I checked my YouTube channel real quick and had someone new made a fake profile talking about the fact that I got fired from my job and how I keep ducking the smoke regarding what happened. And since we're here now to finally clear the air on what happened, all I have to say is that the people that need to know what happened were either there or know what happened, and everyone else I truly do not owe any kind of explanation to, because at the end of the day, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and people are going to make up whatever weird, sick, twisted stories they want to that fit into their little brain. So it is not my job nor my desire to sit here and try to make someone understand or empathize with what I went through when they are committed to misunderstanding me and villainizing me. But all I have to say to that is I know the role I played, and if y'all care that much, you can go ask. And if they want to tell you, they can. But all I have to say is la gente mala se destruye sola. And for me, when it happened, I was very angry, very upset, and very hurt. And knew that I would eventually make a podcast. But something in me kept telling me to wait and to wait and to wait. And there's been a couple times where I've wanted to record this podcast and just I couldn't get the words out, or it just didn't feel right. But I feel like I'm finally at a place where we can finally speak about it. It was a very, 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 very hard thing to go through for me. I have been working since I was 14 years old, and as a Capricorn, a lot of my worth has been tied to holding down a job, how much work I can produce, how much I can achieve, and how many hours I can put in, how much money I can make. And I realized that a lot of my worth was based on how much I could work and how hard I could work. So losing my job, getting fired, because it was super unexpected, I will say that. It was super random. Where I was working, they would threaten to fire people every single day, and it was just a very hostile work environment. I was literally having panic attacks on my way to work, and I know everyone that was working there felt the same, and their turnover rate was insane. So yeah, I knew that we were all walking on eggshells every day, but it was just super unexpected. But I will say that I'm glad that I stood up for myself, and I'm not a type of person that's going to sit there and take disrespect or stay quiet. I firmly believe in speaking up and for what I believe in. And so, yeah, getting fired was just it was a very hard thing. I was not happy at that job, so I knew it was going to be a blessing in disguise, but it was very scary as someone that I was living alone in my apartment. I have been working, like I said, since I was 14, have been providing for myself since then. I have been hyper independent due to trauma and was super hyper independent. And so it was very hard. It literally felt like a net had been taken from under me and I was just falling to the ground. That's the best way I can describe it. All of the security and everything that I knew had been stripped from me within 2 seconds because of a small little man that wanted to feel big because of his tiny little ego, fragile little ego. My livelihood just was all of a sudden shaken. I had just came back from a trip, and it was very, very, very scary. I was, like I said, super hyper independent, and previous to that was, even with my family, had been very rocky, and I'm just never the type to ever, 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 ever ask for help ever. As a child of immigrants, once I moved out, it was like survival mode and figure it out. You wanted to move out, so you figure it out. So I never felt safe or comfortable ever asking my parents for anything. And again, had never ever in my life been fired from a job, especially in that manner. For the first time ever, the next morning after it happened, after I got fired, I called my dad, which I never call my dad. It has to be damn near life or death if it's me calling my dad. But the next morning after I got fired, I just really didn't know who else to call. And I called my dad and I told him that I had gotten fired from my job. And I explained to him what happened. And I told him, Dad, if anyone knows the kind of person I am, it's you. I'm not one to ever tolerate disrespect. Soy muy hablona porque me voy a defender, and he knows that firsthand because prior to that I had gotten no contact with him for months and have had full-on big fights with him because I will stand up for what I believe in and I will stand up for myself. For me to come to my dad and I told him, I said, you more than anyone, you know who I am and that I won't tolerate disrespect. And the way I got yelled at and the way I got treated that night, I told him, I was like, I have never, other than you, I've never had a man yell at me like that. And even one of my regulars that same night that I got fired called me right after and was like, where are you at? He met me next door, bought me ice cream and let me cry because he saw everything that happened and he knew that it wasn't right. Yeah, anyways. That's not what matters. Yeah, getting fired was literally the scariest thing that I went through and the most vulnerable that I ever felt. And there was so much shame around it, and especially because thankfully now I see it as a strength that I'm not afraid to fail in public, and it takes a lot of strength to do so. But it felt like I had failed, and on top of that I had so many people fucking trolling me and making up this crazy shit. So it really felt like I had gotten my safety net stripped from me. I fell 1,000 fucking feet, hit the ground, and then I had people spitting at me, kicking on me, and laughing at me and mocking me, and it felt like I had the whole world literally crashing down on me. Me and my family never had that kind of relationship where I really felt like I could come to them for anything. But for the first time ever, my dad, when I called him, he was like, we're here for you, whatever you need, we're here. And he was like, come stay with us so you won't be alone. And so I packed up my bags, and that's kind of what started me staying at my parents' house. And for the first time, I felt so much comfort, and I have nothing but gratitude towards my parents, because I had so much shame around being fired, and they literally just showed me so much love and gave me so much comfort, to where being at my parents' house and staying here felt so safe for the first time ever. And that's what ultimately led me to moving here. So, yeah, I'm here a year later, to quote one of the greatest, Aaron Gordon. But yeah, it gets greater later. And I kept telling myself when it happened that there was a reason why it was happening. It felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me, but what kept me going was a reminder and a hope that it was happening for a reason. And now that I've gotten closer to God, before I would say universe, it's shown me exactly why things happened the way they needed to happen. And it showed me that it gets greater later. I got fired June 1st, and June 2nd this year, I started my dream job, and it felt like it was literally guided and crafted by God. It is my dream agency, doing what I love, where I feel fulfilled, where I feel like I have a purpose. And it's an agency that I've worked with in the past 8 years ago. They know my character, they know who I am, they know my work ethic, and it was just a reminder again that people in real life love me and support me. And in some weird, sick, twisted way, I think me getting fired from my job was also a reminder that I am so supported. I am beloved unconditionally by my family. And not only that, but I have a community that loves and supports me. And I have a network of friends and people that love me and support me. The overall lesson here is to let your test be your testament. And for me, I knew that when I got fired from my job, it was a test, and being unemployed was going to be my testament, and it was going to show how strong and how resilient I am. And I just knew that I wasn't going to let it break me. As someone that experienced being fired from my job and experienced being unemployed, I think the first thing I want to say is you're not alone, and your worth is not tied to a job, an income, productivity, or anything of that sort. I think that's one of the biggest things that I had to realize and I had to learn. And there were days where I struggled to get up out of bed, multiple days. I realized that many days, the only reason I got out of bed was for work. And I realized how sad that really is, that my only motivation for getting out of bed was work. And I think maybe that's why God had to stop me real quick and tell me and show me that there's more to life than work, and how much money I can make and how much I can do and how much I can achieve. That simply being alive, waking up another day is a blessing in itself. And so I had to learn to force myself out of bed and find reasons to get up and find reasons to live outside of a job, which was very hard. I'm telling you, I'm a fucking Capricorn, and that's what I've been all about since I was 14. So it was hard for me. And as a child, I was an overachiever even back since I could remember. My worth was really tied to my productivity and my ability to achieve things. So when I got fired, it felt like I had nothing. It felt like I was worthless, and it felt like I had nothing to provide to this world. And if you are feeling like that right now, I hope and pray that you know that you simply being here is more than enough. And like I said, it gets greater later, but you have to find yourself again, and you have to find things and reasons to get up. And so the best thing that my parents and my family or anyone could have done for me is what my dad did for me when I called him that day after I got fired, and it was to tell me to come and spend the night with them and to come and stay with them for as long as I was unemployed. And I still had my apartment in Denver, so I was still kind of going back and forth, but having people around me literally saved me. And I know not everyone has that privilege, but find whatever it is that motivates you to get up out of bed and do it. You cannot rot in bed. And I did that for many, 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 many days. And the only thing I can say is it will dig you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into a depression that you don't want to have to get yourself out of. So be proactive. Get yourself out of bed. Shower. Get ready. Make yourself feel good. Go to the gym. Go on a walk. If you are unemployed, I know it's very hard because it feels like it's very isolating, and it feels like you can't participate, like you can't be an active participant in society because, like, where is the money coming from? And for me, I didn't file for unemployment because I have DACA, and so I, first of all, didn't know if I could, but second, I didn't want to receive aid from the government and have it later negatively impact me, so I just completely didn't. But I just found out that it is completely okay and safe for DACA recipients to receive unemployment, at least here in Colorado. So look into it if that's your case, because you have the ability to get unemployment, which is something I didn't take advantage of. But it's okay. Again, God carried me through, and I don't know how I made it not being employed. I ended up being unemployed for I think like 3 months, and in those 3 months, somehow, some way, always figured out a way to pay rent, make money, and feed myself, and was blessed along the way. Like, would just find random side gigs, like that bartending, the guest bartender thing that just randomly came up, and I just made like $400 out of, like, just random ways. But if anything, God, I don't know how I did it. I promise you I don't, but God carried me through, and I had proof that no matter what, and even on my hardest days, God carried me through. So yeah, there's no shame in it. The other thing I think I would reiterate and stress is that there's no shame in asking for help. That's one thing that I really had to learn how to do, again, as someone that has been always hyper independent, black sheep of the family, first one to move out, whatever. I just felt like I could never ask for help because it meant that I failed. But it taught me that I have so many people, and I'm more than blessed to have this. And I realize not everyone else does, but I have people that are willing to be there for me and to show up and to help in whatever way they can. And for example, my friend Nadia would come and spend the weekends with me and just hang out with me, so I wouldn't be alone and would have something to do and would have a reason to get out of bed. And as silly as it sounds, and looking in retrospect, it really saved me. So even if you're just dealing with anxiety or depression, I highly, highly advise just get out of bed. That is my one biggest thing, is get out of bed. And it sounds easy to do, but as someone that's experienced literally rotting in bed for days on end, I understand how hard it can be. So I just want you to know that your life is worth living. And I see it now. One thing that really also carried me through that my friend Nadia told me was que no me desesperara. And it sounds very simple, like not to get anxious and not to stress and not to uh, get antsy about when the fuck am I going to find a job, because it can be a very, very frustrating process. But have faith, have patience, and trust that any rejection that you experience is redirection. When I tell you, it was the most frustrating thing for me, because usually I'm the type of person that can get a job on the spot. I have never struggled to find a job ever. I have always worked 2 to 3 jobs all the time, always have always had backups, people offering me jobs, whatever. And at this point, I swear to you, after I got fired, it just felt like everyone just went ghost. Everything just went blank. All of a sudden, no one's hiring. All of us, I would go to every single restaurant I would go to, I deadass would apply to. None of them were fucking hiring. I even looked into bottle service and they were like, we're full. And I was like, what in the actual fuck? Like, what is going on? And I had to learn to just trust and go. I was going against the current and I was fighting back, and I was like, why me? Why this? Why won't you hire me? Why? And I just had to learn and trust and flow and stop going against the fucking river and just fucking flow with it. And even up until like February, I finally felt like I had gotten my break. After I moved, after I got a serving job like shortly after. So I was unemployed for about 3 months and started working in August. And I the first job that hired me, I was like so annoyed because they literally interviewed me 3 times for a restaurant. And I was like, BFFR, like, why are you guys interviewing me? 3 rounds of interviews. Like, never in my life have I had to interview 3 times, even for like a big girl job, let alone a little silly little restaurant job. But I was like, I will take whatever it is at this point. And funny enough, I had someone who made a fake profile who was laughing at me and was like, haha, like, you're working as a server even though you got your bachelor's degree, like, blah 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 blah. And I honestly was like, honestly, I'm not above any job shaming someone's situation, shaming someone's living arrangement. Anything like that really shows someone's character. But for me, honestly, like, I don't think I'm above any job. I have always said this: I will treat the dishwasher the same as I will treat the owner of the company. Like, I do not care. And as someone that has a work permit, someone that has DACA, someone that knows what it's like to be undocumented, I know what a privilege it is to have a work permit, to be able to legally work. So any job for me, as far as I see it, is a blessing. Your worth is not tied to the job that you have. So if you have to take on whatever side quest, if you have to take on whatever job, have no shame in whatever hustle you gotta do in order to get you through. For me, I knew that getting fired also, I just felt like God was giving me all of this free time for a reason. And although you guys might not see it, I have done a lot of work, inner work within myself, within my family dynamics, within my friends, how I want to present myself, how I want to speak. I've read up and looked up at different podcasts, and I have a vision for what I want to do, but it was very hard for me to proceed with the podcast while I didn't feel stable or whole or safe or okay. And again, I feel like I'm finally at a place where I feel safe to proceed with the podcast, but it took me a year, and it's different for literally everybody. So if it takes you 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year, however long it takes you to find a job, have no shame about it. And I promise you, it's okay. And your worth won't dwindle as the time passes. You are still worthy. And if God keeps waking you up, it's for a reason. there is a bigger plan. And como me dijo mi amiga Nadia, no te desesperes, have faith and trust that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I had to tell myself that all of the time. I had to tell myself like there is a light and like the only way is through. But as long as you're doing one thing every day to get better, better is going to come. Even now that I feel better, I still live by that. And I had to reframe literally everything in my life so that I could see the positives in it. I had to rewire my brain so that every time I applied for a job and it led to nothing, or every time I had an interview and it led to nothing, I had to see it in a positive way, because rejection is very fucking hard. And it literally was rejection therapy for me to continuously have to apply to these jobs and never hear back. Or for me to go through an interview process and finally get a job and it get defunded by Trump. It was a very, very frustrating process. And if you're going through that right now, I promise I'm right there with you. And just look at the positives. You interviewed for a job and you didn't get it. That is more practice that you got. What did you learn from it? What more did you want to ask? What should you have asked? What practice questions do you need to learn how to answer? What questions do you need to prepare for them? How can you prepare for the interview better? How can you learn from this? Let your test be your testament. What is this teaching you? Whether it goes for unemployment, whether it goes for heartbreak, whether it goes for whatever it is, what is it teaching you? How can you get better? How can you learn? How can you grow? Anything negative that I go through, any negativity that I receive, I figure out how to transmute it. I would be damned if I let someone break me down and let that be the end of me. This is a game we're playing, and it's only over till it's over. Until you're 6 feet underground, like, it is not over. You have to find a reason to keep going, and your faith is going to be tested. Like, it will be tested. It was tested for me when I was like, how the fuck is it that I finally got a job after all of these interviews? And I had started applying. I applied to this job in October and I was about to start in February, and then it gets defunded, and I'm like, what are the fucking odds? But I had to take a step back and be like, what is this teaching me? And it was teaching me patience, and it was teaching me that God's plan is always bigger, because although the job that I was supposed to start was good, it wasn't as great as what I have right now. Like, when I tell you, this felt like it was crafted by God, but it literally tested my patience in ways that you cannot even imagine, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, for me, it took a while for me to even want to continue to apply for jobs, because I almost got to a point where I was like, I must not be meant to have a job. I must be meant to be a stay-at-home daughter at this point, because, like, why is it that every door has gotten shut? Everything has just not worked out. Why? And God showed me it gets greater later. And it's funny because I literally started going to church back in January, because I said, like, I got knocked on my knees and the only thing I had left was to pray. Like, I was so isolated and I had literally nothing else to do, and felt like I had no one else to talk to. So I was like, might as well just go to church. And it has become something that now I do every Sunday, and it just feels so weird when I don't. And I did it as a joke, like, oh my God, like, I have fucking nothing else to do. And like, I literally made a TikTok saying like, oh my God, like 2024 beat my ass so bad that like I'm going to start going to church in 2025. And funny enough, I think everything led me here. God led me back to him, led me back to his home, led me back to my home. And it led me to where I'm meant to be. I'm at peace. I feel like I'm aligned. I'm good with God. I'm good with my family. I'm finally at a place that I love, and I feel peace within myself. And know that I have a community that loves and supports me. I have a lot of people that love me. I would have never thought this time last year that I would be here today in my parents' basement recording a fucking podcast saying that I'm happier than ever, but I really am. And I saw this quote that said that you need to find beauty in your trauma or you'll suffer forever. And I really do think that's what you got to do. And as traumatic as getting fired was, like, it was everything that I needed and more. Not saying that it's something that I would have wanted for myself, but it pushed me to be exactly where I needed to be. So I hope that if you're listening to this, or if you're going through what I was going through, or going through a tough time, I just hope you know that there is purpose in your pain, and it gets greater later, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's no shame in having bad days or going through it. Good things will come to you. Good will find you. As long as you're trying to do better, better will come. But yeah, that's my experience with being unemployed. That's what happened. I'm here now and was finally able to talk about this in a way where it felt like I was respecting my boundaries while still addressing what happened. And I feel like I can finally move on and move forward, and feel very blessed and very grateful. But yeah, that's my little yap sesh for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will hopefully see you guys next Monday, as I hope to start posting every Monday. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give this podcast a like, comment, subscribe, everything else. Show some love. And until next time, que se cuiden, and show a little love to and where you can, because I think we can all use it. So yeah.